Okay, so my name is Will. Okay, teacher is called when I get into it. Okay, we're discussing about Pluto and Eris. So I want to get this straight. I was always use something to get this straight here. So this is Pluto and this is Eris. You see? They're different from each other and they're both dwarf planets. Well, I heard they're used to be classified as planets. But to me, I guess it looks like they weren't planets after all, and there's a brand new Planet 9 and Planet 10. Planet 10 is a Mars-like planet. It's the ninth closest planet to our sun, and then Planet 9 is a gas giant. I guess named Nibiru, but since we don't have a name for the 10th planet yet, but we don't have a name for Planet 10 yet, but they will think about it soon anyway. Let's see, search for it, and then yeah. And I'll talk about Nibiru later. And then also I'll talk about a dwarf planet called Sedna as well. But right now we're getting to Pluto and Eris, these two dwarf planets. So let's read about them right now. So the solar system, Pluto, yeah. But first, let's see what I know. No, we need to get to what they're. So you want to find out what they're called in other languages. Well, Pluto in Spanish is Pluton.
Pluton.
And then Pluto in French is still Pluton.
Pluton.
But here's when we get to something now is when we get to something sound different. Pluto in Mandarin.
冥王星.
Okay, Ming Wang Xing. That's how I was saying Pluto in Mandarin. And I'll get to Eris soon. Arabic?
Pluto.
Pluto. So I'll say Pluto in Arabic, and then there's two ways to say Pluto in Japanese. Meose. And then the other one is Peruto. And those are the two ways how to say Pluto in Japanese. Now Pluto is Myeongsong in Korean. Now let's get into Eris. Eris in Spanish is still, I think it's Eris.
Eris.
It's just spelled the same way. Now, Eris in French.
Eris.
is yeah, is still Eris. It used to be different when we get to Mandarin.
系神星
Okay, so Xi Shen Xing. That's how I'll say Eris in Mandarin. Um, Eris in Arabic.
Eris
Aries is how I'll say Eris in Arabic. Now it is in Japanese.
Eris
Arisu is how I'll say Eris in Japanese. Now what about Korean? Arisu. I'm probably not spell it correctly over here. Guys, let me fix this because it's not spelled correctly here. Let me fix this. I need to go to Google Translate to fix this. Because mine thinks there's something different for Korean. For Eris. Okay. Now we're okay. Now I can get out of Google Translate. Okay, now that's find out what Pluto. That's find out what Eris is called in Korean.
에리스,
At least so. That's all I'll say. Eris in Korean. There's also Alesu, but I probably typed that by accident, so let's go to even there just in case. I guess. Now today let's read about the solar system Pluto. We talk about Eris. Talk about Pluto and Eris, okay? So the solar system Pluto by Jason Lyle. So in 1930, astronomer Clay Tuboff discovered a faint point of light orbiting the sun beyond Neptune, the new world Pluto, which was considered the ninth planet for 76 years. But in 2006, the National Astronomical Union voted reclassify Pluto as a dwarf planet. What prompted this change in nomenclature. So the rise and fall of the ninth planet. The discovery of Neptune in 1846 was a triumph of Newtonian physics. The planet was detected by its gravitational influence orbit of Uranus. This novel technique prompted astronomers to carefully monitor the orbits of Uranus and Neptune, hoping that the subtle deviations of orbits might lead to new discoveries. By the end of the 19th century, some astronomers believed an additional planet was needed to explain slight discrepancies. The orbits of these planets in 1906, the Percival Lowell began a scientific search for this undiscovered world he termed Planet X. He died before finding it. Okay, Clyde Topov resumed a search for Lowell sometime in 1929. He took photographs of various selections from of the sky, and he followed that same section days or weeks later, since orbits the sun, while stars do not. Planet X would be different position of two photographic plates, a particular region of the sky taken on planet sites. On the thousands of the typical photograph, you could possibly notice that he had moved. Top off this sheet of device photo of plants and various section of the on a photograph nearly identical sometime later. The human brain is unable to perceive any change. The planet would appear to be jumped back and forth. The planets have flipped, while the stars remain stationary. Topov found Planet X, Pluto, on February 18, 1930, by blinking between two photographs on 2 days in January of the same year. Pluto was revealed by its own motion. Okay, now before Pluto, our system nearly divided by 4 terrestrial planets and close orbit and 4 gas giants orbit farther out. This new planet broke the mold of small rocky icy body at tremendous distance, but unlike any other planet, Pluto of discernible size, even the largest telescopes of the period. This meant it had much smaller, than Venus. Smaller than Uranus. Uranus and Neptune. No bigger than Earth. As technology grew, as big as the size of Pluto shrank. By the middle of the 20th century, Pluto is known to be no larger than Mars. By the 1970s, it was believed to be even smaller. Using minority telescopes, we know that Pluto is only about 1,430 miles in diameter, about 80% diameter of Earth, and smaller than any other 8 planets. It has less than 81% of the mass of the Earth, and divided by the world, known as the effect of the orbits of Neptune or Uranus, measurable wave. It appears that never seen a consistency of the orbits of these planets, so the discovery of Pluto was serpentinious. The new estimate of the small size of one reason Pluto's demotion of planethood is not the only reason. 1992, astronomers detected the astronomer of another object beyond Neptune, designed 1992 QB1. The object was mere 1 miles in diameter, far too small for a planet, and the following star, 5 simple objects were discovered orbiting beyond Neptune. Over several years, dozens of distant visitors were found, hundreds. A few of them were such as Sedna and Mega, were nearly as large as Pluto. With the discovery of astronomers began to realize Pluto was not usual out of place, but the largest number of the class objects, transunion objects, TNO, and more TNOs were discovered. So just asked, should Pluto be reclassified? For 70 years, more astronomers have taught that there were 9 planets. Now discovery of the challenge to all taxonomy. In 2005, astronomers discovered TNO large massive Pluto, now named Eris. And the orbits of the distance of Pluto, when I'm classifying New World, it would make sense that we call it TNO, the planet larger than the planet Pluto, Eris need to be classified as a 10th planet, or Pluto would have to be demoted. But since Pluto and Eris are far similar, hundreds of TNOs or more of other planets, and the National Union opted revoked planets as a planet rather than cousins of similar size as planets with classified plates. The solar system returned to having only 8 planets, as it did before 1930. Now, if you want to still believe that Pluto and Earth are still planets, no matter what, no matter what people say, you can believe that. But I'm fine with calling Pluto or Eris, dwarf planets. But anyway, let's keep reading, okay? So the properties of Pluto. Pluto is a small world composed of rock of various types of ice, including nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide, and is sort of 120 degrees, and therefore rotates on its side like Uranus. Pluto's average distance from the Sun is 3.6 billion miles, 99 times the distance. On Pluto's Sun is about 1,005 times. Thus, the temperature of Pluto's surface is negative 229 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 229 degrees Celsius, or negative 380 degrees Fahrenheit. Due to the extreme distance, Pluto takes about 248 years to orbit around the Sun. Now, that's years, right? Now, for rotation of Pluto, well, the rotation of Pluto is 6 days. Yeah, it's 6.4 days to rotate. So yeah, Pluto takes about 6.4 days to rotate. Now, what about the rotation of Eris? The rotation of Eris is 25.9 hours. Yeah. So it's almost 26 hours. 1.1 or 1.1 days. It's the rotation of Eris. Now, the orbit of Eris is 558 years. The surface temperature on. Now let's go to the surface temperature of surface temperature. Surface temperature. Surface temperature on Uranus. Sorry, not Uranus. Eris. Of Eris. There it is. Yeah, it says 240. It says negative 217 degrees Celsius to negative 243 degrees Celsius. But I want to know what it is in Fahrenheit. There it is. In Fahrenheit, it's negative 5.7 to negative 358.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Because I don't use the word Celsius, I use the word Fahrenheit mostly. I use the word Fahrenheit. I don't really use the word Celsius all that much. I just reading it because it says, because it was using Celsius and Fahrenheit, that's why. But that's about Eris. Now let's keep reading about the properties of Pluto now. So the orbit of Pluto Its inclined relative plane to the solar system of 17 degrees, and larger than inclination of any planet. The orbit is high intensity of the swampness of ellipse. Pluto is 1.79 billion miles closer to the Sun, close to its approach perihelion, and the most distant point, and then the most distant point, Aphelion. That's the phenomenal difference. In fact, the perihelion Pluto is closer to the Sun than Neptune. This was the situation between 1979 and 1999 when Pluto discovered the 8th planet from the Sun, and then Neptune was the 9th. For the remaining 128 years orbit, Pluto was farther away from the Sun than Neptune. It may seem that two worlds might collide with Pluto across the orbit of Neptune, but their orbits are not in the same plane and never actually intersect. There's another reason why a collision could not occur. Pluto is in a 2-3 orbital renaissance with Neptune. That is, Pluto orbits the Sun twice for every 3 orbits of Neptune. So just as a stable configuration guarantees that these two worlds could never be the near same place at the same time. Could this be the design feature of our solar system? This article was written by non-designed images of Pluto has never been visited by spacecraft. Our space images our best images are from the Hubble Space Telescope. But even Hubble could not provide much detail of such small distant world. And situation should charge drastically about in July 15th, when the New Horizons spacecraft scheduled to reach Pluto. Okay, Pluto's has thin atmosphere. Sometimes salinity of the nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide, and same with promotion of Pluto's icy surface. Solar heating is an effect of the keep trace amount of these substances of gaseous state when Pluto is near perihelion. But as Pluto moves toward the aphelion, its surface temperature will drop due to the lack of sunlight. Astronomers expect that at some point the atmosphere will freeze out the drop to the surface, and there is a high hope that New Horizons will reach Pluto before this happens. Okay, now Pluto's moons. But before we can read about Pluto's moon, let's learn about what Eris moons are called too. Eris only has one moon, called dysnomia. Okay, and that's probably dysnomia. Okay, and that's probably the only moon of Eris that we discovered so far. Okay, that's the moon of Eris, dysnomia. Now let's learn about Pluto's moons now. So Pluto has 5 known moons. Charon is the largest, and it was identified in 1978 as appearing bump on an image of Pluto. Mauricio Bert's telescope images instead of a field separation between Pluto and this moon. Charon is over half the size of Pluto in diameter, and Pluto and Charon revolve around their common center of mass, but it has been between two worlds but closer to Pluto. Like all large moons, Charon is tightly locked, but it keeps the same side pointed toward Pluto, and as it revolves. Amazing Pluto is also tightly locked with Charon. The orbital period of Charon, therefore, exactly matches the rotation period of Pluto, which is 6.4 days. A person standing on these two worlds would see another one remain stationary in the sky as the sun and the stars rise and set. Yeah, that means that Pluto and Eris might have more solar eclipses than Earth and Moon does. But that's just my guess anyway. Let's just keep and probably more lunar eclipses than Earth and Moon does. But let's keep reading. So Pluto's other four known moons are all less than 100 miles in diameter. Each of these are discovered using the Hubble Space Telescope in orbit in the same plane farther than Chiron are named in order, increasing distance from Pluto, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra. Other TNOs. Much less known other TNOs, they tend to be smaller than Pluto and are obviously harder to image. Eris alone is larger than Pluto, but only by 1%. Eris is about 7% farther than the Sun than Pluto, so the images don't reveal much detail from tracking this dwarf planet, and we know that Eris is just the orbit, then inclined a whopping 44 degrees relative to the plane of the planets. The elliptic orbit brings Eris within 3.5 billion miles of the Sun, a distance of over 9 billion miles. Spectroscopic studies suggest that the composition of Eris is similar to Pluto. We know that Hubble images that Eris orbited by a moon, Dysnomia, but this is about the limit our knowledge of this little world. So now Plutonios and KBOs. Okay, TNOs are further classified as overall characteristics, but it's better to exist a type of TNO referred to as a Plutono. A Plutono has the same orbital period as Pluto, and consequently about also in 2-3 renaissance with Neptune. So as a large percentage of TNOs are Plutonos, of having influenced by the gravitational pull of Neptune. Some astronomers prefer the term Kuiper Belt object, KBO, to TNO. The two terms initially synonymous, but the KBO's secular or Jensen's comets cannot last billions of years, and since we still see comets, secularists have invented the particular sense where the supply of short-period comets over billions of years, a Kuiper belt. This belt should us with trillions of comet size orbiting beyond Neptune. Contrary to expectations, astronomers instead found a few hundred much larger icy objects beyond Neptune. TNOs of thousands of times massive comets of the comet nucleus, and cannot therefore be a source of new comets. Secular astronomers believe that there are trillions of comet-sized TNOs that exist and simply have not yet detected, but this remains to be seen. Thus, though it is widely used, KBO is misleading terminology. On the other hand, the term trans-Neptunian object is more objective than observationally driven in any case. Whatever you choose to call them, however, we decide to classify Pluto. These objects are fascinating and give us a small glimpse to an infinite creativity of our Lord. Okay, now we talk about those now. And I'll talk about next video is what is supposed to say about comets and asteroids. I'll talk about that too, but that's really only get saved. And the point of evolution is a damn souls to hell. We go to heaven to believe all Lord Jesus Christ's salvation is by faith in Jesus Christ alone. Once you surveys is the truth. And also, the point of the flat earth theory is a damn souls to hell as well. But you know what I mean by once it is saved is when you can't lose your salvation forever. But each because that salvation is easy, all you do is believe in Jesus Christ for salvation. So the next video is what's supposed to say about comets and asteroids. I'll talk about that next video. Okay, to talk to you about comets and asteroids. Alright, now, so thank you for watching this video. We rejoice to bye.